Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to say something that it might upset a lot of people, but let's just be honest here. All these guys out here use this term, they're like, I'm training for aesthetics. All right. I've only very recently started doing that. I've mostly trained for powerlifting, but I finally started trying to balance stuff out. So, I'm going to focus on actually looking decent. It's going decent so far. Made improvements. But, when you say something like that, you should at least take it seriously. I am balancing my biceps with my calves. That's a perfect example. And I think that's a good litmus test where someone really is training for quote unquote aesthetics versus, hey, they just want to train their arms. Okay. And I get it. Plenty of guys out there want big arms. A lot of guys train for big arms. Right? But if that's what you're doing, don't use the cop-out and say you were training for aesthetics. Because the term aesthetics implies that you care about muscle balance, that you care about proportions, that you care about proportions artistically. That is what the word means. Okay? Aesthetics. That is a classic beauty standard. Okay, that is what it means. All right, and I mean one of the historical aesthetic balance references is ratio of upper arm, your bicep measurement versus your calf. Okay. That is a perfect example. One of the things, obviously they look at things like shoulder to hip ratio. That's actually part of it. But the amount that you train your calves relative to your biceps says everything about if you're actually training for aesthetics or not. I think it could be a litmus test. People say, Jason, what do you mean? Explain. All right. Me, for example, started doing more arm work, obviously because my arms were smaller than my calves. Therefore, my arm volume, my bicep volume, because I've always done a lot of triceps for powerlifting, my bicep volume needs to be higher than my calf volume. But a person who's chasing aesthetics always wants more bicep and more calf, is a general rule, right? But you're going to look at, can you balance them out? In my case, you're seeing in a lot of these weeks, me doing more total bicep work than calf work by a small amount. Okay? Mainly if I count my rows and stuff. My direct sets are about even, but I'm doing a lot of pulling too, right? They're direct work pretty similar. But I'm also hitting the two different heads of the calves. But net total work, especially when I add in little mini workouts I'm doing separate, biceps getting a slight priority. Where they were, now they're even. Why? Because they're the same size. They are within a ½ inch of each other, or a ¼ inch of each other when I measure them. Right, the flexed bicep. So if a person is over here and they've got their arms up to 17 inches, which is a very respectable measurement. A legit 17, not with a loose tape where you grab tapes that pull themselves tight. If you have any ability to have a loose tape, you didn't invest the $3.99 to buy a tape to actually do this. You can get them on Amazon. So by default, I assume anyone's just trying to shortcut at this point. These tapes are readily available. They're pennies. But if you got a 17-inch arm, and your calves are 13 inches, and you do equal to or more bicep work than you do calf work, and then you tell me that you train for aesthetics, I'm going to call you a liar. And I think that's fair, because you really don't. Again, people like to throw out terms like that, but aesthetics means you are training for a balanced artistic physique. I got a ways to go in that regard. I think most of us realize that. I've made progress, though, from being a hefty power lifter. I'm 47 right now. All right. Person did that. They had 17-inch arms and 13-inch calves. Man, I might say, you might only want to do 5 sets of curls a week and be doing 25 sets for your calves. Because if the disparity is that large, the training needs to be that large. If their gap in one of the really important muscular balances like that is that vast, that is their weakest body part. Your calves are your worst muscle at that point. You need to be training the holy hell out of them. They need to be given priority, so that means the most recovery volume thrown towards them, right? Your biceps can go to almost maintenance for a little bit. You want to keep training them. You don't want to lose any of that. But do you see the point? If your disparity is that enormous, you have to specialize your training. Because that's not aesthetic. And that's a perfect example. That is a perfect example of what we're talking about with that. Right? If you have a flat pecs and you have big round delts and you're sitting around doing lateral raises instead of pause benching and dumbbell benching, maybe cambered bar benching, right? Don't claim that you care about aesthetics, because aesthetics isn't, let me build the biggest side delt and the biggest bicep I can. No, it's about proportion. There are classic proportions. Okay? If your waist is too wide and blocky, even when you cut down, in my case, I need to cut down. Right? I need to get leaner. Probably need to be working on your lats a lot more. If you don't have the V-taper. You guys see where we're going with this? There's proportions you're looking for. But again, that's a perfect example, because I see a lot of aesthetics guys who are skipping legs or undertraining legs completely. Instead of going, are my calves and my upper arms the same size? Because they're supposed to be. If you are training for classic aesthetics. And that's all I'm saying. If you're going to use the term, then live it. Right? If you're going to wear a label, then follow through with it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.